Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Across the Bug River, Volodymyr-Volynskyi, 1941. This is a game designed by Volodymyr-Volynskyi and published by VUCA Simulations. This is the first game that I've gotten from VUCA Simulations. I've heard a lot of good things about earlier games that they've made, and I really have my eye on one of their games that's upcoming this year because, of course, it's Hypothetical World War III, and that is Red Strike. I'm really excited about that one. And in the meantime, I saw this one, and hey, it's East Front. I gotta have it. So I wanted to check this one out. It's the opening days of Operation Barbarossa, and the Germans have to blitz through the line. So I wanted to give it a shot and see if these guys live up to their reputation. So let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this game's all about. Across the Bug River, Volodymyr-Volynskyi, 1941, is an operational level simulation about the fighting during the first days of Operation Barbarossa in the Volodymyr-Volynskyi region. The goal for the German player is to break through the Soviet defense lines and open the main road to the east. And we have up here the game components. We have a rulebook, mounted map, 396 large counters, 2 double-sided player aid charts, 2 double-sided setup and reinforcement charts, and 2 10-sided dice. We have an example of the map at the top and the counters here. And the unit scale is battalions, time scale is 8 to 16 hours, map scale is 2.2 kilometers per hex. And there are 3 scenarios, including a campaign. Playing time is 240 minutes to 15 hours, depending on the scenario, and it is for 2 players or for solitaire play. It is rated 6 on a complexity scale, and the solitaire suitability is 8. So let's take a look inside and see what you get. We have our rule book, counter sheets, player aids, and wow, they're thick chipboard. Our 2D10s and our mounted map. So let's set up the map and take a closer look at the game. And here's a look at the mounted map that comes with the game. It is a beautifully done map. I really like the color palette used because it's very vibrant, but at the same time somewhat subdued, which makes it look a lot more realistic and really, really beautiful. Everything is very easy to understand on the map. You have rail lines cutting through, as you can see here. You've got roads, you've got pillboxes, you've got marsh, you've got light forest, you've got heavy forest, you got cities, including Volodymyr-Volynskyi, which is right here, Lokachi here on the right below that, and then Rubisov over to the left, and then Torchin all the way on the far right of the map. Along the borders, you're going to see these gray areas here. These are the German supply areas. You have 3 different brown areas, and those are the Soviet supply areas. And then on either side, you have German and Soviet force activation and action point tracks. Along the top, you have the game turn track, and then you have the initiative DRM as well as the interdiction level up here on the top left. Well, as they say, first impressions are everlasting in VUCA Simulations. This is the first game I've gotten from them, and they wowed me right out of the box. So hopefully the gameplay is as good as the look, because this is a really pretty map. Now we'll take a look at the player aid that comes with the game. We have the sequence of play on the left-hand side. Next to that, interdiction, the action point costs, action points, headquarter recovery, German replacement points, destroyed Soviet unit strength point loss BP, and then the Soviet unit reorganization on the right-hand side. Below that, we have the counter explanation, so it'll break down all the counter information for you. And on the reverse side, we have the combat sequence all spelled out for you, the combat results table, and the terrain effects chart, which gives you the different types of terrain, movement costs, ZOC effects, and combat effects. On the next sheet, we have the reinforcements master chart per turn. And on the reverse side, we have the Scenario 2 board setup for German and Soviet forces. On the next sheet, we have the campaign board setup for German forces and markers. And on the reverse side, we have the campaign board setup for Soviet Union forces and markers. And lastly, we have the track sheet for solitaire play. Has all of the tracks that you'll be using for playing solitaire to make it a little easier for you. This is a single-sided sheet. And one of the things I didn't mention was this is thick chipboard. This is pretty much what you get counter sheets out of. So really outstanding quality from VUCA Simulations. Next, we'll take a look at the counter sheets that come with the game. On this first one, it's primarily German forces with some Soviet forces along the bottom. As you can see, each of the counters is individually cut and pre-rounded, so that saves us on not having to punch and clip afterwards. We just punch and start playing. The colors are really vibrant, so they're going to pop nicely on the map, and The numbers are very easy to read. These are really attractive counters. They did a great job with them. One other thing to note, which is the same on the counter sheets that you'll see on the player aids when you get them in hand. Not only are the player aids nice and thick on regular chipboard like you use for these counter sheets, and these counter sheets are obviously on chipboard as well, but there's a linen finish across the top, what you see generally in your Euro games. Fantastic work by VUCA. This is really high quality production. On the next sheet, we have the rest of the Soviet units, as well as the start of the administrative counters. On the next sheet, we have more administrative counters. These counters down here at the bottom are the action points markers, and on the front we have the Germans, and when you flip it over for the back, you have the Soviet side. This will give you an easy way to track the action points available for your activated formations. And on the last sheet, we have the last of the administrative counters. We have the action point markers at the top, and then below that we have the combat multiplier markers. These are used to determine combat multipliers when resolving combat. The attacker and defender will each draw one random marker for their unit. Pretty fantastic. And along the bottom here, we have the combat resolution marker. This can be used to facilitate combat resolution on the combat results table. Next, we'll take a look at the rules. This is a 24-page full-color rulebook. On the inside of the front cover, we have the situation. This gives you a map of Soviet Union as well as Germany. And here you've got a call-out box. This is the Volodymyr-Volynskyi area, and then you have a breakdown of the situation that this game is modeling. On page 1, we have the table of contents listing out all the rules and their associated page numbers. Then we get to the introduction, summary of the game sequence, and then an explanation of the different parts of the game, the map, the counters, everything else explained out to you with nice graphic illustrations, so that way you can easily follow along and understand what all of the pieces of the game are. Then we get to the sequence of play. You have your standard procedures, the explanation of calculation conventions, the stacking and limit intelligence, zones of control, formations and independent units, zone of control examples illustrated. Then we have the effectiveness check, command range, operations phase, and then the command range and path example here in the illustrated example at the bottom. Then we have options of initiative side, formation activation, formation reaction, all the activations available to you, and the procedures in using them, movement action, headquarter relocation action. Then we have our combat action. Remember, we were talking about strength determination before with those counters, and it explains to you here, you're going to draw one each, and that will determine what your strength rating is for that engagement. Explanation of all the combat DRMs, a requirement for combat support, headquarters attack support DRM. Pretty involved here. We've got combat DRM examples, armor superiority DRM examples. Then we have the retreat examples along the bottom here. Refit actions, improved defense action. Then we get into our admin phase. We have the recovery segment, the assignment segment, replacement segment, reinforcement segment, and then the victory conditions, and then the scenario special rules, which will break down for you all of these special scenario rules. Surprise attack, pontoon bridge, formation restrictions for the Soviets and reserve of 41 Tank Division. And then the scenarios themselves start on page 19. Scenario 1 is attack of the 3rd Motorized Corps. Scenario 2 is delayed arrival, and then 3 is the campaign scenario. And that goes to page 20, and then we have the designer's notes on page 21. Those carry over for a couple pages. Tips for the Soviet players, as well as tips for the German players. And then the developer notes here on page 23. And then we have the glossary at the back of the book. And then a note on the combat multiplier chits. And then at the back we have the sequence of play, combat sequence, and the combat DRMs all listed out for you. And that is a look at everything you get inside of Across the Bug River, Volodymyr-Volynskyi, 1941. This is a game designed by Krzysztof Bernacki and published by VUCA Simulations. Like I said before, first impressions out of the box are very high. I'm really, really impressed with what I'm seeing from VUCA Simulations. I've never played any of their games before, but first glance, first feel of the components, everything is just fantastic. If they have the same quality of play, and the rules are as good as I've heard, that match the production quality of this game, this is going to be fantastic, and VUCA Simulations will now be on my radar. They'd been off the radar before, but now this has definitely caught my eye. Really fantastic quality. Like I said, these player aids are chipboard. These are the same thing that you'd use for making your counters. Instead, they used them for the player aids. So nice, thick, and they're going to be really, really long-lasting. And then the linen finish on them is fantastic. Also, because I have this one here, the track sheet for solitaire play. You don't have to crank your head around and look at any of the charts here. You can do it all right on the solitaire sheet, which is what a lot of us wargamers end up doing anyway. We either make our own or somebody else makes one, puts it online, we get hold of it, and we utilize that rather than turning our head around doing contortions, trying to fit our head to match the orientation of the map. So outstanding job by VUCA. It looks like they've covered all the bases here. Like I said, I've heard that the rules are really easy to understand and very well done. Looking through the rule book here, it looks that way, but I've not really read it. I've just glanced through it as we took a look at the game here. But like I said, first impressions are very, very positive, and I'm looking forward to digging into this game and really giving it a look to see if the gameplay matches the component quality, because if it does, VUCA Simulations is one to definitely put on your radar, in my opinion. Well, I hope that helps you guys out if you'd be curious about this one. You have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.